together in brotherhood and solidarity and strive for peace.
Just back from the special prayers to mark the 61st independence anniversary of Nigeria, and I think in the studio here we too can join and say that may God hear our supplications. But there are so many other things that are in our own hands to do, and those are some of the things we are in the studio to talk about. Look at our past, look at the present, and see what we can do to make the future better for Nigeria. We have been joined in the studio by someone you know on this channel. He is a regular analyst, but he has also been at the corridors of power, so he can use that experience to help us. Not just being on the corridor of powers alone, he is a political personality too. So when we talked earlier on about how leadership can help, even in the security situation of Nigeria, Dr. Chris Akomas, former Deputy Governor of Abia State, who is joining us now, is in a very good position to join in that conversation. You're welcome, Mr. Akomas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we have been talking about security. We will soon move into the economy, and those are good areas that you are very conversant with. But when you were Deputy Governor of Abia State, we were not in this position at that time. But let's round up what we were talking before we went for the Jumat prayers. Finally, on the security situation, how Nigeria has been in the world scene in terms of effectiveness in world peacekeeping. Every time we do peacekeeping operations, you see that Nigeria excel. How come we cannot excel in Nigeria? At least for now, we are not
It's
sure.
not as if we cannot excel in Nigeria. We can excel in Nigeria, and we have been excelling in Nigeria in several areas. You know, the thing about peacekeeping is that, first of all, we spoke here about government giving you direction and focus to security agencies. And by the time you go for national service outside the country, you discover that the structure is there. There's well-defined structures and responsibilities, procedures and processes. Everything is provided for you, including the strategy is provided for you. Everything is there for you. You are taking care of your payment, your allowances, everything is provided for you. So you have no excuse not to perform. And you are trained continuously. The United Nations continuously has training programs, online and offline training programs that for us that are third world countries, they even make it free for you. You can go online and conduct, do a lot of training. And even before you qualify to even go for peacekeeping, you undergo certain level of training and exams and other things before you go. But when you come here in our country, you know, we talked about multiplicity of security agencies.
Yes.
There's really nothing wrong in having multiple security agencies if they have clearly defined roles and responsibility, and if they have a coordination,
A harmonization of
their responsibility.
Yes.
We say that the police is the lead agency in internal security. One expects that the police, for example, will bring all the other internal security agencies and say, look, let's understand ourselves. Let's have a defined strategy, one strategy, which all of us can
walk into.
And there was a discussion I had somewhere. I even said, why is it that we have multiplicity of security agencies and we have multiplicity of training, all kinds of training, no joint training? We could have one training. They could all go. And I give example of the military. The military, you have three components of the military. Army, Air Force, Navy.
But
they
all
have
their
one.
training
They have one
institutions,
school.
yes.
It is at a certain stage that they now break off and go to other professional, more professionally oriented to their this thing. But at the beginning, they go to one NDA. There's one NDA. There's one staff college. There's one defense college for all of them. But then again, at certain stages, they have war college, they have air college, and they have that. So that in itself brings all the security agencies. If we had that kind of arrangement, all the security agencies will now have one perspective, one vision, one focus, one strategy, and all that, and we won't have the type of problems that we get from them when it comes to the security agencies working together. We won't have those kind of problems, because even before before they become very senior officers, they know themselves. They know themselves. They know their capacity. They've been speaking together. They've been talking together, and all that. So it can be achieved. It can be achieved. But as long as we have these security agencies working in silos, we will not get the kind of they will work, they will do each one, and you know what is happening now? Each one wants to show that I am the person that is doing more than the other. You understand? And the government is watching, and Nigerians are also watching. But internally, in several of these agencies, you discover that if they pull their resources together and work as with one strategy, they will achieve more than they are achieving now.
Let us come to you, Brigadier General John Tanlong, and certainly this is one area you are very conversant with. I talked about Nigeria and her participation. You know, this is Independence Anniversary, and we are looking also at our historical achievements. In peacekeeping operations across the world, Nigeria has always done very well. But we don't want to discuss those operations and those successes without applying them to what we have on the ground. That is why I'm saying, if we are so very good outside Nigeria, what are the inhibitions in Nigeria now that makes us look so seemingly vulnerable?
Well, thank you very much. When you go for peacekeeping operations, before you set out of this country, the number of troops that you are supposed to contribute are stated clearly by the UN. Your own contingent on equipment are stated, and you must carry everything to the pin and needle that you need. So it means you are properly equipped, you are properly kitted, and you are properly in numbers that is required. And so when you are deployed, there are other equipment that are being owned by the UN that provide certain support for you. For example, some countries provide the hospitals that you require. Some countries provide airlift facilities and the rest. So you are not going to start begging for a vehicle to move your men from point A to B. Nor will you be saying that you don't have fuel or you don't have sufficient weapons and ammunition. The problem here back home is quite different, and it's quite difficult. You find out that you have inadequacy of equipment, arms and ammunition. Personnel, the numbers are not enough. And so also, like the police are saying, with the multiplicity of agencies, I believe that one of the fundamentals which we must address is that if the police is the lead agency for internal security, and then you have a Ministry of Interior, which is mainly meant for the internal security of Nigeria, then you have a Ministry of Police Affairs. I think we must look at that lacuna. And that's why the operations in silos come. There was the Military of Police Affairs was scrapped at the time they were brought under Interior. Now you brought back the ministry. And so the other agencies that are involved in internal security are operating under the Ministry of Interior, while the police, which is supposed to be a lead agency, is operating under the Ministry of Police Affairs. So I think we need to look at that aspect. The other aspect too, like we said, the inadequacy in manning. Look, in a local government, you hardly see 50 policemen policing that local government. And how much do they give them per quarter to run that local government? In a district, you have 1 or 2 policemen. I mean, that is already something that they cannot do magic. It's impossible to police a whole district or local government with 50 people. And unfortunately, there is a dogged fight between the IGP and the Police Service Commission now, just to recruit 10,000 people. If I were the one, I need the men to deploy. It's not the Police Service Commission that will use them to deploy. So if the Police Service Commission recruit them, good enough, give me 10,000 men. Even that 10,000 men, if you want to share them among the 774 local governments without giving any of the headquarters, you are talking about just 10 to 12 policemen per local government. What is it going to do in terms of numbers? So we really look at these things. And so what I said was that while you are looking at the numbers, you have to look at technology as a force multiplier. If you cannot do that, we will continue to manage what we are managing, because it is impossible. What you need by the US standard, you need at least 1 policeman to police about 400 people. Today, in a local government, in the states here, you listen to when they are going to conduct elections in these states, you hear they say the police have mobilized 30,000 policemen to go there. That means you need 30,000 policemen plus the numbers that are there that should be adequately police that state. If you are going to move 30,000 to that place, so that shortfall of 30,000 is a great number that is detrimental to the policing of that state. They don't have up to 30,000 in a state. And if you are moving more than the number in that state, it means then there's a serious deficit. So we must work at countering this deficit. If not, we're going to have problems. And so not just the policing alone, in the UN operations, there are strict observations of law and order. Today, we are politicized crime. Any crime that is committed, we look at it in terms of our tribe, our political party, and our religion. Something that we knew in those days, where if you steal, nobody wants to get near you. Even your parents will disown you. Let alone you say you go and murder somebody. Today you see people, even traditional rulers, political bigwigs, going to influence the police or the judiciary to release murderers, armed robbers, kidnappers, unless we start calling a spade by its name and dealing with crime the way it's supposed to deal with, we will continue to run into problems.
Much Brigadier General John Temlong, a war expert and first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force, and the former president, Alumni Association of Nigeria Defense College, also a security consultant. We take full advantage of this, your resume, and I hope your food for thought will also give us, the listening authorities or the implementing authorities some thinking to do. Thank you very much, and we give you, we allow you to go and enjoy the rest of the Independence Day celebration. You may wish to have yours too, as low-key as we are having it across, but at least we have released you now. Thank you very much, General Temlong.
My pleasure. I wish you a happy independence.
Now back to our studio. Let's have your final comments on what we have been talking about. It's a celebration that brings a little sour taste in the mouth because of the issues we have raised so far in the studio. Security has not been very palatable across the country. So give us your parting words so that we can possibly next year enjoy a safer independence celebration.
I think this time around the government should honestly focus on security. I recall that last year the president did say that in the next 4 years he was going to focus on the police. I'm not sure that we have seen that focus on the police in terms of maybe policies that have been brought out or strategies or some other thing that we make we make the police more focused than it is today, even in terms of funding and in other things. I know that during the NSAS, there is a lot of lesson learning from that NSAS. What did the government learn from that NSAS? What did they do from that in terms of policy, in terms of supporting the police? What did even the police do as a lesson learning from the NSAS? And these are pertinent questions and issues that will help. In other countries, a major incident like NSAS will lead to a major reform in policing and law enforcement generally. But it didn't happen in Nigeria. It just went away like that, and everybody is happy going about, themselves. So I think that this is the time to reflect on what has happened in the last 1 year, and then for government on other agencies and ministries or departments to begin to think of developing policies and systems that will reform our law enforcement in this country.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, we can give you a free day now to go and enjoy your independence celebrations, visit friends if you wish to. And if you so wish, sit at home and do another introspection into the problems of Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's take a break before we return to the studio. Take some Goodwill Messages, and then we'll be back with you.
Recruitment into the security forces and equipping them adequately. Citizens of Nigeria doing their citizens' duty in assisting as much as possible the security agencies and giving them intelligence. There must be an effort to carry everybody along in the governance, in developmental, the provision of infrastructure, and again in appointing various people into various offices. And there should be equal representation. My appeal to all of us is, one, to keep peace and maintain peace, because without peace nothing works. You don't have a country, you don't have the wisdom to go and look for your daily bread. We expect a more united country where our leaders' concern will be for the welfare of its people and the progress of the nation.
Welcome back. Jamilu Ibrahim in Zamfara State brings us security situation and efforts to curb the security situation, and let's hear from him now.
The government renewed commitment to combat resurgent banditry and sped up kidnapping in Zamfara State through intensified armed forces operations is no doubt greeted with high expectations from people in the state. The operations, which are centered in the areas most hit by the problem, have started yielding the desired results.
But the troops are doing their best, and we will do everything possible to improve the situation.
They have been succeeding, and they have been doing a lot in ensuring that they secure Zamfara State. A lot of bandits are being neutralized by the security, and our neighbors are also giving us cooperation in terms of GSM network. That has given us the impetus of adding more grease to the elbows of the security agencies to fight the bandits in their enclave.
Though details of the success story of the operations are sketchy, the reported significant improvement in the security situation across the 40 local government areas of the state is a clear manifestation of the positive impacts of the exercise. The recent successful rescue of many kidnapped victims, most of whom spent a number of months in the bandits' enclaves across the state, as well as the return of many internally displaced persons to their villages, are another clear indications of restoration of relative peace, particularly in the rural communities.
We are in collaboration with the security agencies, and we got clearance before we decided to move them. We have provided them with cash as well as food items, provided the vehicles for them to go back to their destinations.
The new security measures adopted by the government, especially as they relate to the blockage of food items and petrol supply to the bandits and the shutdown of telecommunication networks, could be said to have greatly facilitated the effort to stem the tide of the bandits and their collaborators in the state.
I urge the good people of Zamfara State to always remain law-abiding and collaborate with the security agencies, that the measures taken by the governor in collaboration with the security agencies are yielding positive results.
As the armed forces intensify more efforts towards the restoration of lasting peace in Zamfara State, people in the state are encouraged to continue to support the security agencies with vital and timely information on criminals and their collaborators, with a view to consolidating on the feat achieved so far. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
And still on security, the current situation in terms of security in the country has affected human and socio-economic activities in some states, indeed in most states. Correspondent Sandra Akeme examines efforts towards containing insecurity in Benue State.
Most populous country with various ethnic groups whose unity in diversity has always been second to none and is richly endowed with human and natural resources. The beauty of the country is, however, drawn from the diverse features and cultural backgrounds of her people. For instance, the Southeast has been a business hub which has continued to attract people from various parts of the country who coexist as one people. All these, however, seem to have been greatly compromised due to series of security challenges which have continued to increase in various parts of the country, ranging from attacks on police formations and other government institutions, killing of innocent citizens by unknown gunmen and bandits, kidnapping, issues of herders and farmers, as well as agitations by some ethnic groups.
We actually need security in our country, and we need to be united. People who are agitating for their own country should desist from it. As Nigeria is supposed to be one, we cannot do without each other.
The nation has done a great job to reduce the conflict, to reduce the tension, the incidents of violence. The other part of dealing with insecurity means dealing and handling strategically those issues of justice and equity and economic sustenance that lead to insecurity.
Some stakeholders in Owerri express worry over the present situation, especially as Nigeria clocks 61. They say it is a huge threat to national cohesion, stressing that it is worsened by the impact insecurity is having on the various sectors and the economy in particular.
You ordinarily should be seen in any part of the country because it should be normal. And where you don't have it that way, where everything is nosiving and it's not to anybody's credit as long as this country is concerned.
While many are of the opinion that the fight against insecurity should be a collective responsibility, some are also of the view that the government has to live up to expectation in the fight against insecurity.
The government has been able to rise to the challenge, and it's being contained reasonably, and that gives hope that it will not adversely affect our democratic establishment.
Let kidnapping stop. Let banditry stop. Let's allow government some chance to restore peace.
As Nigeria marks her 61st anniversary, the respondents are of the view that looking at the brighter side of the future will motivate actions capable of breeding peace and unity in the country. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
Okay, so now as we come back for other areas of national interest, I want to introduce my new, fresh-looking guests in the Abuja studios. First, to my right is Dr. Chris Akomas. I have introduced him earlier on, former Deputy Governor of Abia State. You're welcome, and Happy Independence Day to you.
Thank you. Happy Independence.
Yes. Well, I have to my left Engineer Kashim Ali, the former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Heartily welcome. How are you finding the independence break?
Graceful.
That's good. Okay. We have in Kaduna someone who can move from security matters to infrastructural matters, and he has been a member of the Kaduna State House of Assembly, and so he would know what the thinking of government or the political class is on both security and infrastructure. I have Muhammad Ali in our Kaduna studio joining us for this segment. You're welcome, Muhammad.
Thank you for having me.
Much you're hearing us, and we are hearing you too now. Let's come to you first, Muhammad Ali. You may have followed our first discussion on security, and of course, even if you did not, security is on everybody's lips now. What are your thoughts as to how we can take advantage? Now, again, in the last segment, we made it look as if everybody now talks about security as if we have never had insecurity before in Nigeria. But it was not as pervasive as we have now. Now, how can we return to the days where the citizenry feel generally safe? Is it a possibility now as we have things from your thinking? Now, as we have things from your thinking.
Ability to return to the good old days when security was intact. And to return to the good old days means we have to put a lot of efforts in terms of teaching, right from the primary schools. We should make the teaching of patriotism a central theme in our schools, the primary school, the secondary school, the tertiary institutions. And of course, even within the security institutes, the organizations, government agencies, etc. Because what is actually happening at the moment and making the insecurity to be so pervasive is the absence of security or lack of patriotism in most of us. Because what do you say of a serving officer, whether in the police, the civil defense, or the military, who is conniving and supplying bandits with arms and ammunition? He has betrayed the trust and confidence reposed in him by doing what he is doing. And I feel, again, there is the need for the law to be allowed to take its course, because as we speak today, a Deputy Commissioner of Police is in the net having caught supplying arms and ammunition to bandits. A serving inspector of the Civil Defense is caught supplying ammunition to bandits in Kogi State. Another one is caught in Plateau State training bandits, an Air Force warrant officer. So by the time we have people like this, I think we have to call a spade and an eye for an eye. Let's parade these people before the general public and execute them by firing squad. By the time that is done, everybody will know that yes, government is serious. But by the time we begin to, treat things with levity, people will.
Let's hope that that is after the process, the due process of law would have been followed, isn't it?
This issue of banditry, cattle rustling, kidnapping is daily on the increase. We do respect Mr. Femi as a lawyer. You see, kidnapping the due process of law is daily. Respect Mr. Femi. Being a lawyer, you see, we have to do certain things in order to return sanity to our country. If we look deep down, this issue of kidnapping that has become today has become the talk of the town today, started as a mere conflict between sedentary agrarian communities and herdsmen in the states of Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara. Today it has metamorphosed, covering the entire Northwest and also sojourning Niger State, and of course, trying to inch even into Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. So something has to be done. And in doing it, we have to look at who are those that are encouraging this to such an extent that it has transformed into what it is today. We have to look at the traditional institutions. What are the roles of some of those districts and village heads? What role do they play in assisting and colluding with these bandits in terms of the supply chain? What is the role do they play in assisting? What is the role of some serving security personnel that are supplying them arms? What is the role of members of the political class? If, for example, we take the Katsina Kankara kidnap case as a case study, when that happened, these people demanded for 800, who are told they demanded for 800 million. The president graciously approved that they be given 800 million in order to save the lives of those innocent 400 students. But you know what? Awolin Daudawa, the arrowhead of that kidnap, was given only 30 million. What happens to the 770 million? So this is why certain people in government are collaborating with these bandits to do what is being done today. As such, we should shed off all ambiguity and begin to react by way of whoever is caught. Let him pay the supreme price. And I tell you, give 1 week. After that, you will not hear of any case of kidnap anymore. But by the time people are kidnapped or the kidnappers are arrested, take them to the police cell and keep them, just give 2 days, within which millions of naira will exchange hands and the accused persons will be left go. So except we begin to punish, I don't think there will be an end to this. Because punishment is supposed to serve as a deterrent. But where you don't deter people from doing what they are doing, which is wrong, certainly they will feel what they are doing is correct and they will continue to do it.
Some of your thoughts are born out of the agony of the moment. But you have been a member of the House of Assembly. You do know that some of the areas you have suggested would have to take legislation, isn't it?
But there is nothing that stops the National Assembly and the respective state houses of assembly to sit down and dwell on this, and within the shortest possible time, they will be able to pass laws that, and in fact, even without mincing words, most of the state houses of assembly have passed law stating that whoever is caught in the act of kidnapping, he or she should be killed. But the other funny aspect of it is some of the governors, out of political expediency, are hesitant in implementing or signing a death warrant. Because as we speak now, there is an outstanding case in Kano State. The governor is hesitant in signing because he's given excuses. And I don't think there's any excuse. The moment anybody is condemned, please sign, let him go. By the time that is done, then things will begin to, we will begin to return to normal, situations. But where the law is there, but governors are not willing to sign because they don't want to lose popularity, and forgetting for a fact that it is by them signing the death warrant that God will even reward them. Probably by the next tenure they may be the president. But why they refuse to do the right thing, God will punish them also because they are accomplices after the crime.
Truly a man of the grassroots, and you have been, of course, for someone to contest as a House of Assembly member and win, he really is at the grassroots. Some of your thoughts are some of the things that we hear across the place. But talking about the grassroots, don't you also see, while you have enumerated the things happening at the top echelon of government, the lack of education for our children, the children roaming the streets, which you know very well, which you see very well, the lack of policy to give these children education makes them instruments in the hands of those people who want to do these kind of crimes around. What's your thinking about what we should do to massively educate our children?
The issue of education is a must across board. And unfortunately, northern states, I think, ranks highest in terms of out-of-school children. Our governors, our members of state houses of assembly, House of Representatives, and the Senate are doing little or nothing to arrest the situation. Because apart from sending children to school, it is a pity the education we inherited from colonialism only trained people for a white-collar job and nothing more. We should go back to the drawing board and see where we started from during the First Republic. What did the Sardaunas do for the North? What do they leave for the North? Which, unfortunately, people who today are claiming are following the footsteps, prints of Sardauna, if Sardauna were to come back today, he will berate them because they have betrayed what he lived and died for. So we need to ensure that apart from going to school, we must bring back our craft schools, our technical and vocational training centers in order to ensure that everybody has one skill or the other. We should put less emphasis on degrees. Let's promote the need for skills acquisition. Entrepreneurship, this is the way out. Because we have so many graduates today working the streets, some for 10 years they have no job. And it is a fact that government cannot provide everybody with a job. But if you are having some skills, do you need to wait for any local government or state government to give you a job? You do what you can do, what you have acquired. Use your skills to provide job for yourself. So I think the emphasis now should be towards skills acquisition. And of course, as part of my own contribution to society, last week we celebrated the 10th year of my center, the Center for Human Resource Development and Empowerment Initiative. We train people in various trades: computer engineering, ICT, web design, plumbing, tailoring, and carpentry. These, I think, are some of the things our youths need today, with which they will be able to fend for themselves and stand on their feet. Because in the absence of that, the youths are living in a society without any economic and social mobility, side by side, scandalous opulence. And certainly, if one is not very strong-hearted, he can get influenced easily by bad friends, and he becomes something else. So this is why the need for skills acquisition, skill training centers, vocational training centers, technical colleges must be taken seriously, so that together we'll be able to get ourselves out of the present situation we are in.
Mohammed Ali, a security expert and a former member of the Kaduna State House of Assembly, thank you for your thoughts. Let's hope that by next year, when we mark the 62nd anniversary of Nigeria, we shall be talking about how things have improved. Thank you, and have a very good celebration ahead of you. Now, we're back to our studios here. Of course, you know that Nigerians, so many Nigerians are pained. You hear from some of the things that he has said. Let's take your own perspective. We'll just talk on security for a few seconds, and then we'll go to another factor, which we now see that everything is linked. We'll go to infrastructure, for instance. But then security, what are you thinking of in terms of the way forward from the present situation, Dr. Chris Akomos?
Thank you very much, Femi. I'm going to lay a foundation, and that should also serve in the discussion on infrastructure as we go on, so that we begin to ruminate, meditate, and then think of the best strategy to solve our problems. In 1960, the population of Nigeria was 45.14 million. In 1970, it was 55.98, say about 56 million. In 2020, 60 years, we are celebrating this 60. Incidentally, I was born in 1960. So, and on the week that led to the first independent handover. So, I feel, you know, that growing with the system, with the country, there are things that were left undone, basic things. As at 2020, the population as projected, accepted and published by MBS was 206.1 million. Now, if you take that back from 1960 to 2020, take an average. If you look at 10 years after, for the 60 to 70, from 45.14 to 55.98. You still had a manageable situation. Now, if you take an average, it means we've been growing at the rate of 3.4 million every year. And this growth should have been the basis for every planning, be it security, be it infrastructure, education, all around. And the question is, where did we get it wrong? Growing up, coming of age, I used to hear, I always read about the 5-year development plan, 10 years, 25 years, and that. And it was a serious matter. As a student, it was an important thing to follow because it gave you an idea of what's happening. Look at our cities today. When we come to infrastructure, let me talk about it because it affects security. In most cities of Nigeria, because of this growth, unplanned growth, and left without projection. In other words, if we want to catch this, we should be planning for growth of 5 million, minimum of 5 million people every year. That means that if you have a city and you have projected, installed infrastructure for water for X number, you know that the cities are expanding. There are extra hands, extra people that you need to take care of. You have to plan the security of those areas. You have to plan on how to engage those people. I must commend, Honorable Mohammed Ali, what he said, because I've been saying that, I've said that on a number of programs here, that the issue of skills acquisition is not what we are doing. You bring people 2 weeks, one day, you teach them soap making, and we have to follow through the purpose of establishing the National Board for Technical Education. We have to follow through the
which we have had for more than 25 years.
Yes, now. And how have we funded them? Yes. How have we encouraged them? We have even incentivized people from taking that route. Yes. What have we done that have made our polytechnics prefer to now change their programs to degree awarding institutions? Yes. We discourage the graduates of polytechnics with HND when we bring them in on a level, same with degree holder. Yes. But then put a ceiling on them that you can't. Why would you want to do technical things? We have to do that. Plumbing, painting, several handymen, and this has to, there must be a certification system.
Even education has a bearing on the individual security of the personality.
Exactly. Yeah. So because people are not able, somebody goes through a system, feels that he or she has arrived, only to discover that
the system does not recognize him.
Then you see another person who thinks I am a super person because I've gotten a degree, only for that person to know that it's not even of value to the labor market. Okay. And what do? They get into all these things and they are valuable for this. So talking about security, we need to take things from the onset, and then as we build, we recruit more, because how many people did you recruit to take care of the 45 million in 1960? How many do you have now to take care of 206 million people as to secure the country? Yes. Going further too. Going further. You're talking of security. I love what the AIG said before he left. NSAS, a lot of lessons, but the process is still on. Okay. But I think what we should be saying is that it's not deep enough. But is the government doing something? From my own under Lagos, what they're doing, a number of those panels are still working. So I expect that more things will come out of it, and people will, expand on that. Okay. So security-wise, Femi, we must go back to the drawing board, and then if one person is to take care of 100 of us, I wonder how that. In fact, if just 3 of us here decides to slap that person, he won't even be able to do anything. And I close by saying, why are these bandits, these kidnappers, why does it look like they are superhuman? They are doing, it's because they are carrying something. And that was what Zeke, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory, advised people. Say you don't argue with a man with a gun. So how do we make sure that they don't get these guns? Thank you.
So, such a interconnected issues. As a former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, when Dr. Akomas was talking about planning, I'm sure it will resonate with you because you are the ones that are building our cities, you are the ones that are creating our infrastructure and all that. The lack of projection has not only affected our infrastructural base, it also has affected our social economic being. As an engineer, what do you say about that?
Thank you very much. Well, I endorse everything that he says.
Yes.
And I want to add that I think what we have also carried to high heavens in Nigeria is impunity, tolerance of impunity.
Yes.
Okay? You know, there are moments, I mean, growing up, we knew that we lived in communities. A child was a child of the community.
Yes.
And anybody could discipline a child. Today, you can't even shout at the son of your neighbor's child.
Yeah.
Because that is the way they have been brought up, to feel that you are only answerable to. Even within the family, you see children determining who they will answer to.
Yeah.
So the person has the power of money. So those are the issues that have derailed our system. Then, specifically talking about what you are saying, let's look at case studies. I love case studies. Abuja, for instance, was planned from ground zero to its ultimate, and it was supposed to follow through it. Some of the indices changed around the 90s when we had crisis in Kaduna, especially. You know, the southern Kaduna was always boiling then, and then it used to go to part of southern Plateau too, and then Kano.
Influx.
Then those who were not indigenous to those areas started moving to no man's land, Abuja. Again, what was our response even in Abuja?
Exactly.
We didn't respond well because we had what it took to do a census, get accuracy of ghosts coming in and do something.
Exactly.
We didn't do initially, but later on, when we realized that this thing was coming down on us, we wanted to do it. Yeah. And in doing it again, you know, we have to make some concessions.
Yes.
There was, I'm sure you know, Femi, that there used to be this states bordering Abuja. There used to be one security commission, they call it, where you meet. The whole idea was, okay,
yes.
Nasarawa,
yes.
Maraba is Nasarawa state, but it's bordering Abuja. Let's help you with technical advice on how you can upgrade your infrastructure around that area so that people can still stay there, pay you tax, and come to Abuja to work. The same thing with Suleja, the same thing with Kotu Karfi area and then Kaduna. This thing started. The whole idea was put infrastructure, but it's towards security. But when we, you know, so that started again, it was truncated. And we are going down, we started going down again. So the issue of our country, if we can remove impunity, it will help. Because all those who are involved in these crimes and criminality were born at the time of the military rule.
Yes.
And you see, people got used to a situation where you always felt protected by association with the military. If you look at Lagos, many people in Lagos have stickers, Army, Navy, whatever on their card, because they feel secured with that. Where you cannot
police
feel
will not check
proud
them. They will pass them.
as a Nigerian, to say, my identity as a Nigerian is enough to take me through whatever I want to go through, there's a problem. Then you came, even in the school system, there was a lot of destruction. Even where somebody will pass, and then they will say he cannot go because somebody else who has not passed should go. You see, I say, okay, I don't even have problem with that to a large extent, but what if the person who has passed, let him go. But this person come as a concession. But don't say he should step down for somebody else. So this is so I mean, a child growing up with that kind of animosity, it builds up, and there are many of them. So that anger comes and manifests because you know, even if you do initial time when people were doing a lot of nothing, some of them were arrested and they said it's out of anger, but maybe there was nobody to cancel them and they went the way they went. So we could still retrace our steps by doing the right things even from now.
Okay. Now for yet another story. Do you know that Oyo State has the appellation as the pace setter state? Have you wondered why it is so? Well, Oyeyinka Omole takes us down memory lane, beginning with the very first House Parliament where the narrative began.
The independence in 1960 seems to have solidified a norm in the country. That is, major urban centers becoming cosmopolitan in nature, which is a surge of ethnic groups living, interacting with one another, imbibing each other's culture, tradition, and this is fast becoming the identity of the cities, if not the nation. This is evident in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State. Here is Bashiru Zungeru, an Hausa man born and bred in Ibadan. At a glance, Bashiru could have passed as one of the many Yorubas living in Ibadan, and his Yorubas is flawless. For him, Ibadan is home.
I'm married to a Yoruba woman, and by marrying her, I didn't regret anything in my life. Even if I travel to the northern part of Nigeria, if I drove my bag in my family house, the first people that I will look for, they are the Yorubas. If I see Yoruba man in the north, as if I see my brother.
I can say three things combine us together, being united as a Nigerians. Number one, I can say honesty, in the sense that our elderly people, they are honest to each other, and still we are matching them together. That honesty makes us to be united.
We find ourselves in this place. It's not a coincidence. It is my belief that we are all brothers, no matter the language we speak, no matter the religion we belong, no matter our custom and tradition. In any case, if you observe, the custom and tradition are not too far from each other.
The Ezendigbo and the Obong Imberedem Akwa Ibom were of the opinion that the cost of maintaining peaceful coexistence amongst ethnic nationalities might be challenging, but it's worth it.
In Ibadan for over 40 years to 45 years, and since I've been in Ibadan, our relationship with our host communities, the Ibadan people, has been wonderful, very peaceful, very proud of Ibadan people, and I'm sure that the Ibadan people are proud of who he is.
We should live in peace, no division.
As they mark this year's independence, they said the key to achieving this is to accord mutual respect to each other's beliefs, culture, way of life, and trade. From Ibadan, Larry Bilayi, NTA News.
Now, let's leave the shores of Nigeria and go to New York. All the way from New York, the UN Deputy Secretary General has a goodwill message for us, Amina Mohammed.
Look, I'm an independence baby. Happy Independence Day to all Nigerians. Each and every one of you has a role to play in this great nation. It is the nation where you are first. Everywhere else that you go across the borders, you will be second. So let's actually talk about nation building. And at the heart of nation building, bringing peace and unity back to this country is women. It's women in my generation. It's young women. It's the girls that are going to grow up to be us tomorrow. And for this, we need every Nigerian to participate. So let's have a Nigeria that at 61 reflects and looks at the promise of our aspirations that should have started yesterday. But today is the first day of the rest of our lives. Let's make it count. Happy Independence Day, Nigerians.
Now, back to Nigeria, Abia State is harnessing the gains of hosting different ethnic groups in Nigeria, including the Hausas, who are in the city for different reasons. Nneka Onu reports that the relationship transcends that of business alone in Aba. Of course, we know that Aba is a business city. Let's take the story.
Nigeria is a unique country with diversity being its strength for 61 years now. Aba in Abia State is one of the commercial hubs of the country, with a large chunk of the over 6 million inhabitants being from other parts of the country. Those from the northern parts of the country constitute a majority of non-Igbos, with many of them born and bred in Aba.
Here is our home, and we stay with them in peace.
They don't show me anything like tribalism, or I'm not part of them. I enjoy them.
Hey, very fun for me because go that travel go not in a high standard. I'm coming for Aba.
The message of peace is widely preached in the commercial city, with residents enjoying religious harmony and peaceful coexistence. One social behavior that flourishes here is intermarriage. Ibrahim Bello, for example, has been in Aba for over 20 years and had all his children here.
My great-grandfather came to Aba. That should be sometime around 1906. So you can see it's a very long time. Our lives and properties have been secured.
We are friends. We never knew any difference. Like you are a Christian, you are a Muslim.
A visit to the mosque also reveals that many Igbos are also Muslims and interact peacefully with non-Igbo Muslims. The success story of the flourishing business in Aba will not be complete without the Northerners, as they are integral members of the business community. As the nation celebrates its 61st independence anniversary, it is the prayer of residents that the peace, unity, and religious tolerance that have pervaded the nooks and crannies of the city will be sustained. In Aba, Neka Onu, NTA News.
Where I come from in Ofa, one of the richest persons, businessmen in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s was known as Sani Aba. He used to be Sani Balogun, but because he lived in Aba, people named him Sani Aba, and that's what he used till his point, the point he died. And he still has estates in Kaduna, in Ofa, everywhere across the country. So when that story was running, Dr. Akumos, it made an appeal to you. You can confirm some of those things you saw there.
Sure. I do know that I have friends and families from various parts of the country that have lived in not just Aba and Omaya. I mentioned to you that there are even fourth generation people that their great-grandfathers came to Aba and Omaya. They remained there, had their children also procreated well, and on. I have a few working with me, when people see them there. I have one, his father is from Borno. He was with us and even worked with us while I was in government. He's still working with me. So last year, he's still one of my assistants.
Yes.
Last year, we went to Borno, to Meduguri. And when he told the secretary to government that they asked me, after he spoke to them, I said, as far as I'm concerned, this man is an Igbo man.
Yes.
Okay? And he worked with us in government in Umuahia, and we have continued to work together. So when he brought his wife to come and greet me, one of my colleagues said, for a Kanuri man to bring his wife, it means that indeed you are family. Father, I said we are family and we have come of age, years working together, and we are still working together. This is what it is. And he understands and even knows Abia better and more than most Abians, that because he was born and bred and brought up there, and
he will move around much more
than most of, and that is it, and that's what we should be talking about. I tell people, my children, I say, three of them are, Yorubas, because they were all born in Ibadan. One is from River State, so he's an Mbamiri person. Only one is actually an Igbo person who was born in Umuahia. So this is it. When you think of how we have grown and how we have come together, what
is it that
because that which unites us is much more than whatever anybody thinks that. And by the way, you talk of religion. How many of us actually decided which religion to follow? We were born, our parents introduced us to a religion.
And we followed.
We followed. In most cases, it's so difficult to change from that. It's just normal. And none of the religions that we are killing ourselves for is indigenous. None is indigenous. So let us think Nigeria, work Nigeria, live Nigeria, believe Nigeria, see ourselves as brothers and sisters. That is the way to go.
One thing that seems to unite us now, back to our infrastructure, is that across the country, of course we know that the federal government owns only one town, which is Abuja. But go across the country, you find unplanned cities, buildings just springing up everywhere without a structure. And yet, people will still tell you there is a master plan for some particular city. What's happening? That seems to be something that cuts across all states.
It's still part of a general problem. But sorry, let me just add a bit to what you said.
Okay.
I love traveling.
Okay.
And have gone to all parts of Nigeria.
Yes.
There is no state capital I've not been to. And I've also gone to rural areas.
Yes.
But what I've found, if you go to a village,
yes,
like Angara in Abia.
It's in Imo.
In Angara it's in Imo. Okay,
yes. But it's very close to Abia, yes.
And meet an old woman there. Yes. Your name is my son.
Yes.
If you go to Obomosho, meet an old woman, your name is my son.
Yes.
Go to Borno. Yes. Anywhere you go in Nigeria, my son. So, and this, by calling you son, they are ready to give you even the only food they have. So where is all this complex division coming from? As we are talking today, even this issue, sometimes I laugh. They're talking about open grazing. They say there was fighting, and somebody tried to take us to Oka. Oka, we flew into Enugu and we're going to Oka. It was an evening flight, so we're going around for. And I saw a Fulani man heading in the bush between Oka and Enugu. Yes. And I said, see, look at this. Now, on the news, what you are hearing is you think that nobody exists anywhere. Yes. You have people today who are, I know somebody, a prominent Nigerian, whose grandfather was in Enugu. In Anambra City, in Anambra City, they are still there. He's prominent. Many people don't even know that he is. He can speak. He's from Kano, but he speaks Igbo
impeccably.
He can even switches to Igbo. So there are many people like that, and for all the interactions we had, people have formed a friendship, but we've not taken this to, So I see the elites in Nigeria, especially those who are politically exposed, they are the ones, for me, creating this problem. When it suits you to just bring somebody down, which is the easiest one I can use against him? Is it ethnic or is it religion? So until we can do with all those things, or not. Now coming to infrastructure, we have found that, again, governance, people go into governance in Nigeria at times unprepared. But when they go in, sometimes power gets into their head, and they also begin to just sit down and exercise power. Somebody will come, they will say that, if I even look, and I'm sorry, I have to, because when you talk about even the states, we also know, we must not even forget that this thing happened right in the center. In Abuja, that is planned. Do you know what we call the Jerry Husseini estate in Kado? The 5-bedroom flat bungalow that are there, they are all sitting on the road corridor. That's why I see the road. There's by Millennium Jabi Park, it's dual carriage. Yes. Then it comes under the bridge and narrows down to a single carriage. Yes. It's because the part of the road has been taken. Somebody, they took their part, and nobody has the courage to say, pull them down. Then that's why they are there now. And it's creating a lot of traffic situation around there. So in other places that were supposed to open fields, for instance, people have converted them. Even after the RFI demolition, some of them have built up some of those houses again. A place that is supposed to be an open field, somebody goes to build. Now, in building, originally, there was no provision for water for that place, no provision for electricity, no provision for even telecommunication service and everything. So now you are going to overload all your facilities there. And so in the states, it's worse in the state. Why you start taking from the federal, because Abuja is better plans. But so somebody can now say, if they are doing, we have this, you are talking about, what about this person who is doing it? That's it. So this is the attitude that we're or somebody comes, he becomes governor, he finds that somebody, his predecessor had violated, he too will go and violate. So he says, what about the predecessor? What did you say? So we must overcome that. And we need people who are convinced, people who have character, who have knowledge, and are willing to serve, to come into office. But until we achieve that, and we'll still have problem of all these violations, because it has to do with the person's conviction. It's not something that anybody, an official, for instance, if they say you should do something, they fire you and get somebody who will be willing to do it. And so the thing will still get done.
We will take a break for yet another story from the States. When we return, we shall be talking about our road infrastructure across the country and see whether we can do better than we are doing now. But for now, let's go to Edo State. Edo State, carved out of old Bendel State in 1991, has a huge history, and it is one of the 36 states with a unique acronym, or better still, payoff line in the Federation. Paul Emukogo in this report tells us why the state is referred to as the heartbeat of the nation.
Edo State is strategically and geographically well located, as it serves as a transit point for travelers to the south-south, southeast, the northern part of the country, and it is a major link to the southwest. It is a melting point of activities ranging from trade, commerce, tradition, culture, political, and socio-economic background, for which it has carved a niche for itself. Known for its ancient civilization and hospitality, the heartbeat of the nation, as it is fondly called, has a direct connect to competitive character of the people, the location of the state in the Federation of Nigeria, and its rich cultural heritage.
In 1992-93, when Chief John Odige Oyegun was the governor of the state, that was when most of the governors then were asked to find a tagline, because the new national vehicle registration just came up, and I needed to interview His Excellency John Odige Oyegun, and we were playing with, okay. And Chief Oyegun, during the interview, and just said, we are the heartbeat of this country. That whatever happened to Edo State, the nation would definitely, suffer a heart attack.
Geographically, we have the northern part of Edo State that are more, some are Muslims, they are near the northern region, the fringes of Kogi, Agenebode, Okene, etc. They are in Edo State. some of the Delta Pi, Nikoroga, Ajakurama, Welowoshe, and the rest, they are Ijos and they are in Edo State. If you move on another dimension to Agbo, Abavo, Igbanke, they are semi-Igbo speakers and they are in Edo State. So Edo State is a citadel, it's a conglomeration of all these places, and that is why it is the heartbeat of the nation. It is a melting pot of tribes, tongues, religions, and individuals.
The state, in the eye of the people, is unique by all standards and has survival instincts when faced with challenges like the larger Nigerian society. No wonder it is called the heartbeat of the nation. In Benin, Paul Mukago, NTOs.
Just what we have been talking about here, Edo State exemplifies the coming together of Nigerians in a state. And we can't talk enough about that because, yes, we may have a deficit in infrastructure, but if we have it right in terms of cohesion, then we can overcome our infrastructural problems much more easily. It is when we go at each other's neck that all the infrastructure will make no meanings. Engineer Mohammed.
Yeah, well, okay, you were talking, you started with roads.
Yes.
With roads, you can cut down on the issue of insecurity, and there are practical examples. I refer to the Southern Kaduna boiling at the time in the 90s.
Yes.
And, there was this Governor McCarthy that decided to do the roads within the rural areas in Southern Kaduna.
Yes.
And people were not able to communicate. So if somebody told you there was a fight in the next village, it wasn't a problem taking a bicycle or motorcycle and dashing there to see if it was true or not. But if there's no communication,
you just stay in your place.
Anybody can tell any story and act on that. So road has always facilitated security. Beyond that is the fact that any country or any state agency that does public works always enriches those within the area. Because in doing a road, for instance, you are doing drainages, you are doing culverts and bridges, you need hard labor, you need young people who come and who are energetic to do this. Because they are doing that work, they have some empowerment. People come to sell granite to them, sell pawpaw and everything. Those ones also make money. So
in fact, sometimes the workforce is recruited, the unskilled workforce is recruited
right
from the
there
locality.
outside.
Yes.
So, you are having a road within your place that gives you joy, raises your profile as a human being. Then you have some economic benefits coming to you directly. What will make you go to fight? Even if it's momentary. And because you have done that, you can build on that. Because sometimes in those places, people acquire skills. There's no way you do a major infrastructure without skills. Today, there are some women, young girls in this Abuja, who are experts in molding rail track sleepers. Experts. Now there's no way
because rail projects have come to their area.
So tomorrow if you want to do another thing, you don't need to go and start training. You can pick them and then use them. So you build a skill base and that is what, because often we talk about GDP as a measure of our wealth. Yes. What is GDP without the ordinary person? It's when the ordinary person is earning that your GDP will grow. It's not when you have an Aliko. Aliko's contribution is not up to what some individuals who are earning just contribute to the GDP. So for a country to really grow, you need to think about those things, and you need to invest in public infrastructure. Let me take you a bit, take you down to the even after independence, when we hadn't struck oil, when we didn't have money. Our roads most of them were lateral roads, unpaved. but they were in good condition. You hear about leaders, you'll be shocked how Sadona will be able to move from Kaduna to Sokoto. From there, he goes to Ankpa, he goes to all the places. How was he going? The roads were not paved, but they were good enough for anybody to drive on. Is it the same thing today? As a young person, I told you I love traveling. We used to leave my car in those days after 9 p.m. My friend, were three of us, Nivu, Michelle, Dr. Bakar, and I, we would drive from there to Yola.
Yes.
We arrive Yola around 4 a.m. In the morning, we go to Garkida. From then, in the morning, on Sunday, we leave Garkida, go to Gombe. Then start coming down.
Those were not necessarily dual carriage.
They're not. Why were they in good condition? Yes. Because the governance structure then was effective. You had road camps along the way. A man gets up in the morning, he knows that he has a stretch of just about 1 kilometer to deal with.
To maintain.
And anything happens on that road, if there's an accident, you write a report.
Dr. Akomas, one of the things that we bring out from that is that our roads the lifespan for our roads are not long anymore now, because we now have trailers, articulated vehicles plying our roads more. The measure of transport, of course, you have also talked about population increase and all that, planning and all that. But then our roads now, they've constructed a road. In the next 1 year, they're talking about the road failing.
That was why I led that foundation. We all aspire. The experts that construct the roads are human beings. They aspire. Only God doesn't aspire. The world He created for us, our both spiritual books, all the books have told us that one day, this present one will aspire. So whatever infrastructure is built, you must have it at the back of your mind that it will have a lifespan and that there is need for maintenance.
Yes.
I used to see, like you were saying, government had that idea that these roads have a lifespan, but you can improve and enhance that lifespan by resurfacing. So at least every 5 years, between 5 to 10 years, you resurface. In the course of resurfacing, those failed sections of the road and portions, you now maintain. And we had the PWDs. That's what he was referring to. Men living within the communities whose job, they were trained though.
Yes.
They were trained. Their job was to make sure that every pothole within their own station is filled, and when they fill it for that temporary, they write report and say this place is this bad, there is need for better maintenance. And people come from the capital to maintain it.
That's where we have the structure of the Ministry of Works, where states have controllers of works that can oversee.
Do we have those things now? Yes, they are there.
Yes.
We are paying salaries for people, supposedly. I'm not talking of the PWDs. I'm being within the ministries.
Yes.
But who is nobody is funding them. Nobody sees them as important. So for every infrastructure, we must be ready and willing to improve on that. Look at the National Stadium. It had gone to, until recently, where the CBN partnering with this have come to that. Talking about roads, when you do a new road, when you open up a place, you enhance the value of everything in that, including the landed properties.
Yes.
Now, you come to cities. Some people are connected to the public water supply. Some people are easily connected to the national grid. Others within the cities are the ones providing everything for them, even within the same estate, just as he was mentioned, because the planning stopped at a point. But when it was time to now take it further, knowing that the place was expanding and people know will still continue, that is where we need to do something. Otherwise, the infrastructure decay will continue. The first time I went to Nguru, it was by rail. Yeah. The first time I went to Kano, It was by rail. And it was a joy.
Sure.
A big joy to do that. So, thank God that is coming back. I now have friends who work here but come from Kaduna. Okay? And people can plan because, you know, the rail system is working. I see that happening between Lagos and Ibadan. And you can imagine the pressure it will take off that road.
Yes.
Okay? So if we now think of all this and the need to move forward, I have always said, I'm not against borrowing, as long as you apply it to something. Over the years, a lot was left undone, and we need to do something to bring back this. One state I admire, among several, let me not be, is Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
When Governor Akpan Simeng came on board, he called his brothers. They planned for the place. Then they continued work. They were talking of promised land then. Okay? Now, Obangata came on board. He called his brothers and looked at that plan again and planned, and they are all working. Anybody that comes works into that plan. Go to Akwa Ibom, you see synergy. You see, yes, you come in as a fresh person, but you are working towards a plan. What is wrong with having that across?
Let's hope this too is applied in several other states. It's the states that make up the federation. Indeed, the president said as much in his speech that all eyes are on the federal government, that it takes more than the federal government to make a successful country. Let's hope that some of the issues that are being discussed are being looked at and worked on. We're going to take a longer break now from our discussions and go to some of our regular programs like the news. But I want to, before we dismiss ourselves, I want to say a particular thank you to Engineer Kashim Ali, former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Thank you very much for your time. And MNI, they didn't write that here, but I can see the badge.
Thank you.
We also thank the former Deputy Governor of Abia State and Dr. Chris Akumos. Thank you very much, as always, for sparing us your thoughts.
Thank you.
Now we'll take a break for our news. After the news, our special discussions, special programs continue to mark the 61st independence anniversary of Nigeria. Thank you very much for being part of our segment today. I am Femi Okeowo, and thanking you. Have a beautiful evening ahead of you.